Hi, Hearties. Welcome to another Heart to Heart. We're here, our chats with the Wind Calls the Heart cast and crew. I'm Jeanette Stevens from Michigan, and I'm joined today by a couple other admins.
Lori Pearson from Mobile, Alabama.
And I'm Annette from South Carolina.
And today we are so excited to be joined by one of our OG cast members, our favorite redhead. She's been with us from season 1, Johannah Newmarch.
Yay!
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
So good to see you.
Great to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for taking time.
Of course.
So we're well into season 9 now. What a ride.
How did that go so quickly? My goodness.
Yeah. Yes, a lot of stories happening right now. We're really in the midst of a lot of storylines.
So many.
Yeah. And so just how are you feeling in general about season 9? Do you have a favorite storyline so far? Do you have a favorite scene?
Honestly, I am a bona fide Heartie. So, I mean, I think it's a testament to our show that even though I'm on the set and I see things being shot, that it's still compelling enough and enrapturing enough that I can still pull back as an audience member and really get wrapped up in it.
That's wonderful.
I know, right?
We're that way too.
Yeah, like I can actually manage to sort of detach back and like really go on the ride. So I mean that says a lot about the writing and the acting and the everything. It just it's a testament to how great our show is. So yeah, this season's been really juicy. That last episode, they're so dramatic. I mean, in a wonderful way. Like so many wonderful little clues and teasers and. Oh my goodness, when it ended, Lucas being framed and so many things. So as far as how I'm feeling generally is just completely wrapped up. And I actually purposely haven't gone ahead and watched I watch with you folks. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though we have links and stuff and we can watch ahead, I've purposely not done that, which probably isn't as great. It's probably is not from a strategy point of view. It's probably not great because I could have all my tweets organized ahead of time and be super organized, but I kind of like to be, go on the ride, and be reminded about these wonderful moments that I've sort of, forgotten because it was quite a while ago that we shot them. You know what I mean? So I've been enjoying just sort of experiencing it kind of fresh. So as far as a favorite scene, or a favorite episode, there's been so many delightful ones. I did really enjoy the ice cream fight episode. I thought that was really cute for so many different reasons. Yeah. And I'm always just blown away by what our writers can pack into 45 minutes. Like total hats off to them. Like really, it's not easy, as you know, with a large cast and so many storyline threads to skillfully be able to weave those into and give a little bit of what everybody wants with everybody's story and all the different characters and wrap it up in 45 minutes. It's quite something. Sorry, I just rambled there.
No, love that.
I love it.
Well, and it is so interesting because you guys do have such a big gap between when you film versus when you get, and I know there's some ADR in there. Like how long ago before the season airs are you still doing ADR? Is there still a pretty large gap?
Yeah, so I think I finished my last ADR. Oh goodness, I want to say February probably. Yeah, so, and that's just for like the final episodes. So we start ADR actually quite quickly after we wrap. They're already working on the season episode 1 right away, so that it allows them time in post production. It was quite challenging for them when we would do the Christmas episodes. For them the turnaround was very, very tight. And I think it actually was quite stressful. So it's nice that we have that the post team has a little bit more time to actually get everything in line, episode by episode. So yeah.
Well, it probably is something to see it all come together, like all those pieces when it airs, that you just did the work so many months ago, and then to see all those post-editing pieces come together.
It really is such a joy. I mean, I get a tiny sense of it during ADR, and often in ADR, it's only like a line here or a line there. Often I don't even get to see the entire scene. Sometimes I'll be like, hey guys, can you show me the whole scene?
Yeah.
And depending on how much time we have, they will. So it's always fun, kind of, you're in there shooting it, but then, the magic of editing and music, and it always comes alive so beautifully. So yeah, ADR is really fun from that point of view. It gives me a couple tastes of what's coming. But yeah, as I say, I really enjoy being in the audience and letting it just wash over me after kind of putting it on the shelf, so to speak, for a few months, and coming to it. Right.
That's amazing. Yeah. So speaking of some of the great scenes you've had this year, One of my favorites was with you and Faith,
Yeah.
where you had a little moment outside, like at the end of the workday, kind of decompressing. And when you had that kind of heart to heart about happiness and being, and me as a single girl, I felt seen. I was like, there's my people.
Right?
So that
Right?
was such a great scene. Can you talk a little bit about that scene and kind of the friendship that's developed between those two?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. Thank you so much for saying that. It was when I read it in the script, I was like, yes, this is really important. Because this show is is so much about women and their sisterhood and their journey. And obviously in 1920s, a woman's worth was still very much, connected to her marital status and, the status of her husband. And, we've obviously been negotiating those issues as women for decades, and we're still negotiating them now. So yeah, I really did feel like that was a really important, to seize that moment, to say, hey, look, I have a wonderful life. I am not missing anything. I'm fulfilled and satisfied in so many ways. And if I find a romantic partnership, wonderful. If I don't, also wonderful. Whoever comes into Molly's life is going to have to add value because she's got a great life. She's not sitting around pining, she's living. So yeah, I'm so glad that you said that. And I think it is really, really important. And I think that actually mirrors so many women's experience nowadays. There's so many women are very fulfilled and independent, and living their best lives with or without a man, or however you partner up. So I think that was really important, and I'm really glad that spoke to you. I really hoped it would. And I think Faith and Molly are kind of, even though Faith is younger, and doesn't have a child yet, they're both professional women looking to find what is their best life. What does that look like for each of them? And Faith's really exploring her coming into her own as a professional, as a doctor, which is an incredibly empowered position for a woman in that time period. So yeah, we have that. So it's kind of makes sense that we would be kind of bonding over that and sharing the work of the infirmary together. And there's actually some quite wonderful scenes coming up. I don't want to give too many spoilers, where we take those little heart-to-heart moments even further, in it, kind of like saying, hey, do you have a minute? Can we have a little heart-to-heart about what's going on with me? As good friends do. And I think that's one of the things that not to be gendered about it, but I think women are really great at sometimes just listening, and not necessarily always problem solving, but just going like, hey, I get it. I'm here to just experience whatever it is you want to tell me, and commiserate and empathize. And yeah, right. That's
and it was lovely how, it just says a lot about how far their friendship has come, that Faith felt like, oh, I'm close enough to Molly now that I can ask her these kinds of big questions.
Yeah, totally.
They really haven't been that close up until now. So it was really neat to see that friendship develop.
Thank you. And seemed quite natural, right? Because, she and Carson were kind of, busy with their own thing. And with Carson, sort of moved on to his own life in another city. There's been an opportunity for us to bond, which seems quite natural. Like it didn't seem at all forced from a writing point of view. And I know a lot of people have been like, well, what about FloMo? And it's don't worry, FloMo is still.
Oh, yeah. You had some good stuff last week.
Oh yeah, it's still we're still besties. It's great, but she's her job is across the street, my job is here, so it only makes sense that that Faith and I would do some bonding. So I'm really glad that that's been speaking to you. That's great to hear.
I love that friendship dynamic. It is so cool. I can't wait to see where it's going to go. But we did get some questions from Hearties, so we want to get into those because I'm sure they're anxious to hear your answer to some of their questions. Robin Palilio, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right, from Boise, Idaho, finds it interesting that various characters are struggling to find their life passions this season. Molly, Lucas, and to some extent Lee. Will we see Molly find her passion by the end of the season, or might that be an ongoing matter? Should we get season 10, hopefully?
Yes. I'm looking for season 20, just so y'all.
With you on that.
Okay, great. Power of intention. Yeah, so we definitely have some teasers. Molly continues to explore that this season, but I will say that particular journey is going to carry on into season 10, hopefully. So yeah, but you're right. It does seem to be a theme right now. I think that's, that actually makes a lot of sense to me when I think about my own life. You get to an age, and people always say, they joke about midlife crises, but I really like to think of it as more like a midlife reassessment, which is really healthy to me. Midlife crisis sounds it's sort of pejorative, right? But a midlife reassessment, like you take stock, you're like, okay, well, God willing and the creek don't rise. Let's say I make it to, 85 or 90. Let's say we've got another good, another good 40 or 50 years left in our journeys. It makes sense to go, okay, well, you take stock of what's happened so far, and you take stock of what feels right and where you feel like you've got room for growth or exploration, right? So that feels quite healthy. Both Lee, Lee's reached a particular place in his life, personally and professionally, as has Lucas, and they're all kind of, as has Molly, and we're looking around going like, okay, so is this our best lives, or is there somewhere that we can, be more authentic, find our truths, so to speak. And I think that's like a timeless human quest, yes. Right? No matter whether you're in 1920 or 2022. So.
We're always growing, and I always say I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Exactly.
I still figure it out.
I feel the same way. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Another Hearties question. Allison Lapp from Florida says you are gracious and unpretentious, and that shines through in Molly.
Very sweet.
Very true. Allison is intrigued by the possibility of a duo with Bill. Of all the famous couples in fiction, any genre, she asks, which are Bill and Molly most like, and which would you most like to play? Allison thinks you would be a fabulous Benedict and Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing. I love that.
What do you think? I have to give her credit for that one, because she nailed it there. She really did. And kudos to her for being, well-read enough that those characters are something that she knows about. I mean, obviously, in the all of Shakespeare's compendium, there's, so many incredible, characters and duos. And so good for her. She definitely nailed that one. It's interesting that this question, I've actually thought quite a bit about, and I've been a little bit stumped. And I think part of what the struggle is, Molly and Bill are still very much in the kind of, deepening of their friendship, kind of, gentle flirtation happening. And so we haven't really had a chance to explore who they would be as a romantic couple. So it's a little bit hard for me to answer that question from that perspective. So it would be almost more like answering from like a platonic, like a dynamic platonic example in literature. And I've struggled, I'm not going to lie. I mean, if any of you ladies can help me out here, that would be great. But, and this is not literary. So I'm going to sound rather pedestrian I was going to say the one that did pop into my mind, and I'm dating myself here, but maybe some of you ladies remember, was from television. It was the Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis in Moonlighting.
Oh yeah.
And they had, before it became romantic, for all of those episodes, there was that wonderful sort of playful banter. And that's the one that kind of popped into my mind for maybe where we are now.
It's a fun one. Yeah. Very fun.
Can any of you ladies think of the right literary reference? For the, kind of where we are now? It's a tricky one, right?
Yeah,
I think you picked a really good one.
I think the Beatrice and Benedict one, she nailed it.
And that would be cool, because Benedict and Beatrice kind of had people pushing them. So wonder if that would be interesting if Florence started pushing.
Yeah, go for it, Molly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Hearties have Rosaleen on their minds all these years after we first saw her. Yes. A Telling Silence, her classic episode from season 1, is probably on everyone's favorite episode list. So when Molly's daughter Rosaleen is lost and the whole town goes looking for her, Elizabeth helps her regain her voice. Does that episode stand out for you? Or what other episode might be your favorite through all the years? And Anita Adams-DeBrasi of Detroit is the one who's asking.
Well, thank you so much, Anita, for that great question. And absolutely, that episode is very, very much in my heart. And it was, it was very early on in my When House Calls the Heart journey. And I had it was wonderful to be directed by, Michael London Jr., who's just a delightful human and a wonderful director. He's a wonderful actor's director. He really understands, the process. I mean, he grew up in a film family. He grew up with actors. So like all of our directors, he communicates beautifully with actors. So that was really special. And also it was the first time, I think, in my career that I've really had a chance to play an emotional, dramatic scene with a young actor. Mamie Lavrock was so young when she did that scene with me, and she was such a wonderful little actress. and honestly, I wish I could say I was, some wonderful actor, but honestly, it was this, it was so nicely written and it was so simple. And as a mother myself, I just was like, there was no acting required. I just looked at Mamie's little face and, it was all there, so so it was very special to do that for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I will say that is the episode where I became a Heartie. I was a fan of the show. And when I saw that episode, I fell in love with the show. And I was like, I'm in for the long haul. I love that. So
I think that's true of many
lovely thing to say.
Yep.
So much. It means so much. Blessed.
And it's been lovely. It's been lovely that they refer back to Rosaleen now and then. And
that dynamic made such an impression on all of us. We have another question about you and Rosaleen. Hearties appreciate it when your character still talks about her, and they would love to see her return sometime. Do you imagine a backstory that would explain where Rosaleen has been? And also, what might Rosaleen think of Molly's relationship with Bill?
Well, that's a great question. So for me as an actor, I've talked to Tinker a little bit about this. Where she lives for me in my heart is that she's we talked about it and we decided that, if I do say so myself, she's a very, very bright girl. And so we decided that we were going to send her to boarding school. Not that Elizabeth School isn't wonderful, but we wanted to sort of really give her some additional academic support, artistic support. And I think Molly is one of those people who put, her limited financial resources towards that. And so she's been off living her best life, doing some ballet on the side and maybe it was a school that sort of emphasized the arts. So she was able to get sort of some more, some painting and some dancing. And so that's, in my mind, Rosaleen is at a wonderful boarding school and we write all the time and we're very close. Actually, I sort of, with my own daughter, she went to university in Scotland at the University of Edinburgh. So in my heart, I was kind of like imagining that Rosaleen was doing something equally as wonderful. So, maybe back in the 1920s, it wouldn't have been abroad, but, maybe she went somewhere, in a more cosmopolitan city that had more to offer sort of from an artistic education point of view. So that's where she's been. Hey, never say never. It would be, how delightful would it, I have, I'm honestly, hand on my heart, I have no idea what the future holds for Rosaleen, but she's a beautiful young woman. She's grown into this gorgeous, clever, talented, amazing young woman who's actually a musician herself. And stunning, I may add, not that that is someone's worth. She's also happens to be absolutely gorgeous. And so, it would be so fun to have a reunion of Molly. As a grown woman, in her late teens, that would be really fun. And as I say, we only have 45 minutes and there's, such a wonderful, big cast. I think it's just so hard often to bring, these kinds of characters through, even though everybody would love to see them, there's limited time, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it would be delightful to see that happen.
Wouldn't we love that?
Yeah.
Awesome. And what would she think about Bill and her mom together?
Right, sorry, yes. Well, I think she's feisty like her mom. She's a redhead. So I think she would probably enjoy our dynamic. I think, but like any daughter that's loves their mom, or I think she would be a little bit like, well, my mom's a pretty great lady. You better, if there's any interest there, Mr. Avery, you better treat her right. I mean, I think, you know what I mean? I think, women are protective of each other, and Bill is a very wonderful character and a very upstanding citizen. Yes. So I'm not trying to allude to anything there, but I think she would be a little bit side eye until
prove yourself.
Exactly.
This is my
mama. We can imagine what she's doing, and we hope we hear more references to her in the future.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, well, and especially considering that Molly and Bill have known each other so long, she'd probably be like, "Come on, Bill, are you in or out? What's happening?"
Literally, what's it gonna be, buddy? What's it gonna be?
Not too fun. It's really fun to think about with you're a character for 9 seasons now, like just the rich history just to talk about in this tiny little, less than an hour chat. It's like there's so much history in 9 seasons.
So much history. And I mean, I've said this many times, but I'll say it again. And as an actor, we're almost never in the arc of our career afforded this much time with a character. So it feels very, very special to me. I'm sure enough about the vagaries of the industry, and shows getting canceled or not, based on so many different factors. The percentage of actors who have ever had 9 seasons on a show is, 0.00 whatever percent. So it's, you know, it's been just a phenomenal blessing, you know, for so many reasons, personally, professionally, artistically, you know, to spend so much time with these wonderful characters and just have them grow and deepen over the years. And obviously the friendship with Loretta has been extraordinary on and off screen. So yeah.
So
Well,
speaking of that rich history, Molly gets a variety of comedic moments and dramatic, and some of the great comedy you've gotten to play, like this season with, you know, mistakenly thinking Elizabeth was basing a character in her book on you, and then last season with the hypochondria from, you know, reading through Carson's books.
Yes.
So Joelle Jordan, a Heartie from Michigan, I might know her, that's my sister.
Oh,
she wants to know, which do you prefer? Do you prefer comedy or drama, or do you just love it all? Or,
you know, honestly, I really do. Not to be a bland, but I love it. I do love it all. And as an actor, you know, it's so fun to do both for different reasons. Comedy is actually, you know, it's actually surprisingly tricky sometimes, you know, because it's all about timing and beats, and, you know, a joke either kind of falls flat or doesn't, based on, and a lot of it has to do with editing and, you know, directorial choices. But, you know, our directors are wonderful comedic directors. You know, we all know Peter DeLuise comes to mind particularly because he's so much fun also as a human. So he's got a wonderful comedic sensibility there. So yeah, I really, really enjoy both. And I do. It's been really fun for me because there has been so many sort of dramatic moments this season. It's been really fun for Molly, mostly to date for this season, to be kind of like the comedic relief. FloMo has these wonderful little moments that kind of ease the tension and kind of create like a little laugh to kind of give you some respite from the intensity.
True.
And speaking of comedic timing, the $23 well spent dress. Can we talk about that one for a second?
Yes.
Was that a one take and done? Did you? I mean, the timing of that perfection. I mean, by all of you, all three of you.
So much, yeah. And as you know, Loretta's a fantastic comedic actor. You know, as is Jack Wagner. So yeah, that came together beautifully. And I think more than anything, it was Elizabeth's writing. Like, you just read that scene, and it just jumped off the page. We were all like, oh, we know we know how to do this. You know, and I have to give another credit to Peter DeLuise. He's so good at, you know, it's so much of it is camera and timing and who lands where and who does what. And so he created the physical, he created the physicalization of that scene really beautifully. So all we kind of had to do was, you know, show up and just vibe with the moment, and, you know, do that blocking and then say those lines at the exact right moment, and it all came together. And so, yeah, we didn't have to do very many takes.
Y'all nailed it.
I know. Yeah. And the confidence that Molly had, and then Florence's reaction. I mean, she didn't say that much in the scene, and just her reaction. Oh, perfection.
Thank you so much. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite things in being a modern actor is gifts. And that there's so many Florence and Molly scenes and Molly scenes that lend themselves so delightfully to gifts. And I live for gifts. I don't know what that says about me as an actor, but I live for gifts. I just love them.
What did actors do before gifts existed? They didn't get that like great.
But actually, and I just love to imagine when I see, like, you know what, you can kind of sort of go in and search out the metrics, and when I see like a certain one has been shared like 10,000 times, I can only imagine all the various conversations that someone would use that GIF in, and it just makes me laugh.
I love that.
Well, we do have another Heartie question. I mean, we could talk about that scene all night. Let's be real. Carolyn Galgano from Sutton, Massachusetts wants to know, speaking of FloMo, what is your favorite FloMo moment of all time? Just a few to choose from there.
Yeah, goodness, there's been so many wonderful ones, but I do think, and I've, you know, I've said it before, but I don't think it will come as any surprise that the wedding dress episode was pretty special. And that moment where we really got to just like really have a friendship, just like a gratitude for each other moment, you know, and Loretta's character, you know, Florence was so eloquent and so loving. And so it was just really a beautiful moment to be able to act. And as I say, again, no acting required, because Loretta's such a queen. And we've gone through 9 years together as humans in our lives. And we've all, you know, she's become a mother and my daughter's gone off to university. Excuse me. We've gone through a personal journey together on this show. So our friendship is very natural. And I hope that comes through on screen. So that scene was just a joy.
That was true. That was great. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
So you've had so many scenes over the years, and you have had a lot of scene partners with our beloved home Hope Valley characters.
Yeah.
Is there someone that you haven't had a scene with yet that you would want to do a scene with?
Well, it's funny. To correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've really had a scene with Nathan. And I think Kevin McGarry, as you know, is so funny. And he's such a wonderful actor. I think a comedic scene between Molly and Nathan would be really great.
Definitely.
Fun.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'd love to do more with Hickam as well. I mean, we have the little fainting scene that didn't make it to the final edit that I posted, but we had that fainting scene together, which was really cute. But yeah, it would be really fun for Molly and Nathan to do something, I think.
It would be.
That'd be cool. Okay. Let's call up the writers. Let's get that going.
Love
that.
Yeah, call your people, would you? Thank you.
We have no people. So speaking of your castmates, we have talked to a lot of your castmates this season. We have been so blessed to be able to speak to them. And several of them have said that you are the person that they turn to for advice.
Aww.
Is there a piece of advice that you have given to another cast member that you could share with us?
Oh goodness, that's incredibly sweet. I probably just for a factor of age. I'm Mama Joe. Well, I do remember when Andrea was pregnant and she had that wonderful baby shower. She did say, "Hey, we're standing around the island, snacking on all the beautiful things she put out for us." And she was like, "Do you have any advice as a new parent?" And I think I just said, here's the thing, our kids are really sharp and they have a really, finely tuned BS detector, if I'm allowed to say that. And I think you just have to be authentic and with them, and you have to walk the walk. You can't, you can't be do as I say, but not as I do. You have to do as, you know what I mean? You've got to. Yeah. And so I think it's just so important that your kids know that, like obviously, you're the parent, it's that fine line between being their best friend and also being the parent. There's, it's not always easy to negotiate that, but I just think a really strong sense of mutual respect is really important. Hey, I respect, you're an autonomous being on your own journey. And, I'm your parent trying to do my best here with guiding you through the wild ride of life. So, I think just really making sure that there's a really clear sense of trust there. And that honestly, that there's nothing that they can't come to you to talk about. I think it's really important to prove that you are a safe harbor, that if the seas get rough, to carry on the metaphor, that you are a safe place to come home to, because I think a lot of kids are sort of raised by their peers when they go to them with their concerns. And, let's be honest, like another 14-year-old is probably not the best person to ask for advice, right? So as long as you've really created an atmosphere, I think where your children really know that there's nothing that they can't come to you with, that you will solve any problems that come up in their life together. I think that's what I said. So it served me well. I know it's a really tough journey. It's easy to talk about and very hard to do. Yeah.
That's great advice, Mama Joe. I was going to ask you if you had advice for us Hearties, because after all these years, you probably know us well, but that seems like a great piece of advice for Hearties too.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's a good advice for all of us, right? I mean, I struggle to live up to my own advice, and then to carry on with that idea. I mean, I think, all the women in here, we're of a certain age. We're not 20 anymore. And you get to a place when you realize, like, maybe there is no destination. Like we all try to, spend our younger years striving, right, for this or for this, and that's all wonderful. And I'm not saying goals aren't great and that you shouldn't have them and achieve them, but you do arrive at some of them and go, oh, I really thought this was going to make me happy. And then you realize there's still some sort of background dissatisfaction or something. So I think it's so important to remember that the journey is the point, and that there really is no destination. And I strive very, very much to try. I mean, I have far from mastered this, but I'm really trying in my daily life to just try to be present and enjoy this. Life is made up of a bunch of boring Wednesdays, right? So just enjoy the beautiful gift of a cup of coffee with your dog in the sun, or laughing with your best friend about something, or just really trying to be present for life's moments, as opposed to trying to always get somewhere, get to the next achievement, get to the next goal. And then all of a sudden you wake up and it's kind of like your life, you missed your own life because you were so busy trying to get somewhere. You got to actually live in the moment of your real life. Because this is it.
Yes. Don't keep looking for something else.
Exactly.
The woman is here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amen.
That's excellent.
We'll just sit here and listen to you give us advice.
I know. What's your next bit of advice?
Well, yeah, gosh.
You should write instead of what were you writing? The manners column for the paper? You wrote the advice column.
Finding your manners with Molly. That's great alliteration.
Yes. So take on the advice column too.
Okay, perfect. You got it.
Got all kind of jobs.
Deal.
That's true. Well, Hearties are very much looking forward to a season 10, maybe. And if we get a season 10, there might be another Hearties family reunion.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
So we're wondering, do you have a moment with a fan that stands out to you?
Yes. This probably won't come as a surprise to any of you, but I received in the mail this lovely little handmade book of a bunch of tweets and quotes from fans. And I just remember thinking, this is the loveliest thing I've ever received. Who the heck sent me this? And it was a Heartie by the name of Desiree Nelson, who's a part of the FloMo administrative team. And I and it was very early on in the FloMo days. And I received this little book, and I just thought, this is the sweetest darn thing I've ever seen in all my life. And so finally, that next reunion, I got to actually put a face to the name, and I was just like, oh my goodness, who are you? You're such an angel, to go out of your time and way just to send something so thoughtful and kind. And then I got to meet her, and she's such a lovely human being, and such a lovely Heartie, and has been such an advocate for Florence and Molly, which I so appreciated, because there's been lots of times, when we're supporting cast, and it's so lovely to have someone go, hey, we really value you. So it was lovely to put a face to a name and meet Desiree. That was great. Yeah,
that's sweet.
Yeah,
Hearties are so good at coming up with creative.
Honestly, they really are. I've been so unbelievably struck by Heartie's generosity with gifts and cards. And it was actually, I've given you that one little example, but I could spend several of these chats just talking about cards I've received or messages I've received that just meant so much. You're being an actor is really challenging. There's a lot of rejection. I know it seems fun and glamorous, and it can be, but it's also just a lot of hard work and a big slog. And so I really cannot emphasize enough that often, the universe is very generous, that I would receive one of these messages or a card or a note just on one of those days when I need it most, where you're like, what am I doing? This is hard. This is, we all have our low days. And then I would just receive a little message like, we really appreciate you and we really enjoy your work. And you're just like, oh, thank you so much. As anybody who's trying to, hopefully trying to give something to the world with their work, you want to have a sense of purpose and meaning, and you go, oh, there is someone out there that this speaks to and matters to. And it just really makes it so much easier to just dust yourself off and just keep marching, And I think that's actually the most exciting thing for me about social media. Obviously the internet is one of the worst places on earth and also one of the best places. And for me, just that immediate feedback with your viewers, because you've got to understand, like, we're all old enough to remember, you can imagine being an actor. And if you wanted to communicate with an actor, you'd write a letter and send it off and hope that
I did that.
Right. Yeah, we all did. So it's, as an actor, it's so wonderful to be like, oh, because, often prior to social media, you kind of, running along, doing your acting thing, hoping someone somewhere is watching it. You don't know, like, and then when this has been such a wonderful, immediate way to go, oh, people respond, people are enjoying this matters to people, And, whether it was this show or another Hallmark show, I've received, cards and letters over the years of people saying, hey, your Hallmark and your participation in these shows really, helped me get through some dark times or some tough times. And, I went to these shows because they were kind and gentle, and I really just needed a respite from the challenges and darkness of my own life and the world. And you just start to go, oh, wow, like, this stuff matters to people, and it helps people get through their lives, and it continues to mean, it has meant and continues to mean so much to me. So all of you Hearties who have ever bothered to write or tweet, please know how deeply it is appreciated.
It is so sweet. That for me, that's what this Hearties experience is about. Not only connecting with the show, but connecting with each other.
Yes.
The connections, it's so important.
Yeah, such a wonderful group of people.
And you are good at those connections, lady. You're very good at them.
Since day one, you were one of the earliest cast members. I remember tweeting back in those early days.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I feel so clumsy at it. I'm not very good at it, but it is very heartfelt. So I hope that
you're doing very great at it. So, but just loving this season, whether it's Our Mistaken Jezebel, Dr. Carson's, Dr. Carson, Dr. Shepard's, well, also Dr. Carter's right-hand lady in the infirmary. I guess it's not the infirmary now, though, is it?
You're right.
It's her doctor's office.
Private practice. Yeah.
Well noted. Yes.
And Flo's perennial sidekick. And all those washing machine adventures were just so funny. I loved that.
That was
We'd love to see you on our TV screens all the time. And we have loved having you with us. Thank you so much for joining Heart to Heart.
Thank you for doing this and creating a place for us to share with you. And it's just delightful. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Here's the season 10. Here's the season 20.
Yes, we hope so.
We're going for 10 through 20.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for all your advocacy. We can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you. And Hearties, you don't want to miss a single moment of Johannah's performance. See it again this Sunday night at 8 o'clock, Hallmark Channel. And be sure to go over to Twitter, join the Twitter party, send some tweets to Johannah, always with the hashtag Hearties. We'll see you on Sunday. Bye.
See you there. Don't miss it.